Hello, Internet. So nice to see you, and welcome to another music theory chat. Today, we're gonna talk about how to sound good on guitar because music is not just a theory and chords and scale and a lot of mathematics. Okay, music is also sounding good, and we're gonna address. How to sound good, okay? Because a lot of people are also thinking, I need to become very good and very technical at guitar. I need to study a lot. I need to do a lot of things. I mean, it's gonna take a lot of time to sound good. In reality, you can sound good if you do a few important things, and that's much easier than it looks. And we're gonna address that. Before that, though, if you are watching us right now, if you are seeing this, say hi in the chat and say where you're from. We always like to hear where you guys are from. So say hi. Also, we are going to take questions throughout the whole thing. So if you have questions, just write them in the chat. Don't be shy. We don't bite. So you guys ever heard somebody, some guitar player, and thought, well, this guitar player is not particularly technical. He cannot play fast. He cannot play complex things. Maybe his coordination is so, but he sounds good. Why that happens? We are going to explore that today. Now, as a guest for today, to explain us how to sound good, I have the guitar breakthrough expert, the teacher of teachers.
Hello, Internet. Hello. Good to see you.
Hello. So, we are having a bit of an audio problem as usual. So, if you can mute while I talk and unmute while you talk, and the usual. Okay. So that the audience knows too. Okay. We are still trying to figure out why this stuff doesn't work. Okay. Anyway, so Thomas, why some people sound good and why some other people don't sound good? Can you give us an overall thing and then we can go in detail?
Sure. Well, I mean, part of it is subjective. I mean, who you think sounds good might be different than who I think sounds good. But I think generally people can agree. We can hear the difference between an amateur player and a higher level player. We can hear the things, not just in terms of technique or chord vocabulary or things like that, but other things, foundational things like timing, rhythm, phrasing being the really big one. And I say this to my students all the time, regardless of what skill level you're at technically on the guitar, or even intellectually, how much you know, if you can play, or when you learn to play with good phrasing, you're going to sound good. You might not sound great yet, but you're going to sound good. But without good phrasing, even if the technique is there and the knowledge is there, it's going to sound like you know some things. It's going to sound like you can do some things, but it's just not going to sound all that good because the phrasing is the most important thing, in my opinion, at least. I think it is the big sort of giveaway, the dead giveaway of where someone really is at musically, is the quality of their phrasing. That's really the single most important thing in my particular opinion. So why do people not sound good? Well, I think that a lot of players have the potential. When I'm talking about players, I'm talking about students. I'm talking about normal people at home in your neighborhood, maybe the people listening. The potential is there. They know some things, they can play some things, but maybe the timing is off. Maybe it's not very tight rhythmically, even when playing lead guitar. Maybe the phrasing isn't so good. Maybe the bends aren't quite in tune. Maybe the vibrato is not really in tune or in time. Maybe the use of phrasing, if they're thinking about it at all, is sort of an afterthought or it sounds clunky. And those things really hurt the skill set and the knowledge that people do have. So it's not like you necessarily have to learn more things, although that's part of it, but being able to use more of what you already know or what you can already do musically is going to make a big, enormous difference in how your playing is going to be perceived by others for sure, and hopefully by yourself. Any thoughts on that, Doctor?
Yes, I agree with everything you said so far. It's taking care of those little things, which are not really little, or intangible, which are not really intangibles, okay? And not concentrate too much on the very visible thing at the beginning, like how fast you play, how complex is the thing. A lot of people are like, I like complex music. Yes, that's great. Play simple music first, though, okay? Like everything. And actually taking care again of the timing, of the phrasing, of the tuning. Okay, so many people play out of tune, and all this kind of thing. We like to call those the basics, but basic doesn't mean simple. Basic doesn't mean given for granted. Okay, those are things you need to take care of to sound good. Okay, that's the thing. The thing is, like exactly like you said, if you take care of that, especially the phrasing, you're gonna sound good. You can play two notes, you're gonna sound good. How about we give a few examples, or we show exactly the difference to our
Sure,
audience?
sure. And one thing that I'll add before we get into sort of what those examples might be is I like to look at all musical elements of guitar playing, whether it's your music theory or your aural skills, improvising, your rhythm, timing, phrasing, improvisation, all of these different, knowledge of chords, knowledge of the fretboard, being able to get around fluently on the guitar. All of those different pieces or all of those different elements, we can kind of put into two different big categories. Okay. And I'm going to call those categories additive and subtractive. Okay. So I draw you a little picture. Okay. Additive. This is a really important concept, what I'm going to tell you right now. Okay. So we have additive, let's put an A, and subtractive. So all these different things, different categories, different aspects of guitar playing are in one of these two categories. We can lump them into additive or subtractive. Now, what does that mean? Additive, an additive element is anything that you do when you play guitar, anything that you do to improve the sound quality of what you're playing. Okay. So, for example, if you played a note and you don't have any vibrato on the note, if you added vibrato, that may be additive. I mean, it's additive if the vibrato is good and appropriate for the music. It enhances what's already there. Okay. That's additive. Okay. Subtractive things is anything that you do that destroys or damages the good aspects of your guitar playing. So, for example, things that are subtractive would be things that are out of time. So, if you're playing the right notes, you're playing the right chords, and your technique is good and you can hear everything, but you're playing out of time, it drags all of those good skills you have, all the knowledge, all the technique, all the fluency of the playing gets lower. The quality of everything you're doing is lowered. It's subtractive because it's out of time. It's sloppy. It's not tight. Okay. That's subtractive. Another example of a subtractive elements, bad intonation. This is when either your guitar is out of tune or more likely the guitar is in tune, but you're playing out of tune. Now, when I say this to students, sometimes if the student is inexperienced, sometimes they'll say, well, wait a minute. If my guitar is in tune, how could I be playing out of tune? The guitar, I tuned it. Right there. It shows it's in tune. How could I be playing out of tune if the guitar is in tune? Well, two ways. One has something to do with the guitar itself, but the bigger one has to do with your hands. So first, let's quickly talk about the guitar, and that is the intonation. That is the position of these saddle pieces on the bridge. If these positions are off, if they're not in the right spots, okay, the guitar and the open strings might be in tune, but the notes up here, out of tune, because the intonation has not been set on the guitar, okay? But more likely what occurs is that when people bend a string or they do vibrato, those things are not really in tune. Or when they play a chord or a note, they're bending the string just a little bit without realizing it. And now the note, which would have been in tune, is now out of tune because you're pulling on it or pushing up on it, and now it's out of tune. So that has to do with your hands and what you're doing. If the slides, vibrato, string bends, or just regular notes are out of tune, if the intonation is off, it doesn't really matter anymore what you're doing, what you're playing, how fast you can play, that how clean it is. It doesn't really matter because it's being damaged or destroyed by the fact that it sounds bad. And it sounds bad because it's out of tune. The intonation is off. So if it's out of time, that's subtractive. That takes your skills and makes them be perceived as something less or lower. It ruins everything that you've worked so hard to build and practice and learn. Okay. It destroys it. It damages it. Lowers the quality of what you're doing. If it's out of tune, same thing. In fact, it's even worse if it's out of tune. Okay. So when you do a note and you're doing vibrato or you're bending a string, if that thing is not in tune, we have a problem. Now, the cool lick that you played isn't cool anymore. Okay. That's an example. If we've got excessive string noise, you're playing this note and we have string noise, same thing. Those string noises are now damaging or destroying. So those are examples of subtractive elements, things that take away from all the good stuff that you know and that you can do and that you've learned and that you're trying to accomplish. So if we look at everything in those two categories, additive and subtractive, what most amateurs do, not a professional player or someone who is aspiring to be professional, they focus on both sides of the equation. Always. They're adding things over here and they're making sure that nothing is happening over here, that we don't have subtractive elements destroying all the hard work that they've put in all their playing, all their learning, all their practicing, all their songwriting, improvising, soloing, whatever. Okay. But for most inexperienced players, let's call them amateurs. Okay. When I say amateurs, I don't mean guitar players who don't play guitar for a living. That's not how I'm defining amateurs in this example here. I just mean people who are not thinking really like musicians really think. Okay. They're just playing guitar. Most people focus on this side of the column. They focus on the additive side. I want to learn this. I want to play this. I'm going to practice this. I'm going to add this. And that's fine. But when we have things over here, this stuff doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter that you added vibrato. It doesn't matter that you try to do a cool slide there. It doesn't matter that your playing is cleaner or faster. It doesn't really matter because stuff is destroying it over here. So what we want to do is burn the candle at both ends. Meaning, when you're learning, when you're practicing, when you're at home, you're working on things, we want to be focused on the things that are getting in the way, timing problems, sloppy playing, tuning or intonation problems. Those are the real big ones over here. We want to work on cleaning that up while simultaneously learning and practicing things over here to enhance what you're already doing. So that's how I'd like you to see it. We got additive elements and subtractive elements, and we want to be working on both sides. Don't spend all your time over here, and definitely don't spend all your time over here. Okay, we need to mix this up so that we're spending time on each side of this equation. And when you do that, even if you don't have great guitar technique, or you can't play fast, or you don't know lots of music theory or lots of chords, or your ear is, it's only okay, you can still sound really, really good because you got some of this and you have as little of that as you can get. Okay. The good news is you don't need a lot of talent to work on this side. You don't need a lot of technique to work on that side. You don't need a lot of knowledge and information to work on that. What you need is just a little time and attention to detail. Okay. Paying attention and listening to that side. And if you do this, your playing is automatically going to sound better, even if you never learn anything new, you never get any faster, your technique doesn't improve, you don't learn anything else, about music or theory or whatever. The sound that comes out of the guitar, out of your amplifier, is going to automatically be better because we're working on both sides. Okay. That's a really, really core key insight that you don't really hear a lot of people talking about, but professional players or people who want to sound like a pro, that's what they're doing. Okay. They're not just learning new things. They're on both sides at the same time. Okay. Doctor, anything you want to add to that?
Absolutely. So these additive things are the very visible thing that most people see, and they're attracted to when we learn to play guitar. The speed, the technique, the versatility, okay, the very impressive things, and it's good to work on them. The subtractive elements are the silent killers, or not so silent in this case, of your sound. The invisible killer probably is probably better because you don't see them immediately. Who is looking, I don't know, John Petrucci and thinking, look at that string control. Nobody's doing that, right? Because
well, you and I might do that.
But totally, we do, okay. But in which case I would have quoted another example, but okay. We do, because we are nerds, because we are guitar nerds, okay? But most people don't do that. Most people are look at the additive things and then they want to study those. The thing is, having the subtractive things under control is what make you sound good when you do the additive things. And if you don't have those under control, you don't sound good. It doesn't matter how many additive things you have, it doesn't sound good, okay? I think that's the important point. Okay? The subtractive things are not sufficient per se to sound great. They're enough to sound good. But they're totally necessary to sound both good and great. Okay, so that's the thing. Now, the problem is that those sound boring. Okay, I mean, who's going to sit down and study? Like get the metronome and check the timing. Let's check the string muting and all this kind of thing. So, well, how do we get past that? Because I know what I do. The thing I do personally is that I've heard how people sound when they mute the string properly and when they don't mute the string properly. And then I heard myself doing that when I learned how to stop everything. And it's a world of difference, and it's totally worth working on it because the difference is massive. But many people have no idea, for instance. Timing, the same. So, can you show us something about that?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I hesitate to say, but before I do, let me say one other thing. But I really do want to say one other thing before we get there. And that is, I want to pick up on what you said, Doctor, which is that when most people listen to their favorite guitar players, you mentioned John Petrucci, so we'll use him as an example. What most people hear is the additive side, right? The knowledge, the phrasing, the technique, the speed, the complexity, the cleanliness, the expression. Those are things that we can all hear, and sometimes we can see them. You watch them play, you can see and hear this side of the list. So it's easy to observe. You look at your favorite player and say, oh, he's doing this and this and this and this and this. You don't see and you don't hear anything on that side of the list. It's invisible to you. Why is it invisible? Because he's eliminated everything on this side. So as an observer or as a listener or as a fan, you only hear these things. You don't hear those things. So they're like that. It's like for you, they don't exist. So that's why people gravitate towards, oh, Petrucci's doing this, so I'm going to learn that. Petrucci's doing that. Well, I'm going to learn this too. And he can do this, and I want to have that skill too. And they follow this side, and they don't see what was John Petrucci doing when he was 17 years old or whatever age, getting his playing together. He was on both sides, and he had all those same problems over here that everybody else does, but he's worked hard to eliminate them. So now all that we hear, all that's left is this. So it's easy to miss this stuff when you listen to your favorite player. Okay. That's one thing. The second thing is, why do people neglect this side of the equation? Well, sometimes it's because people just can't hear it. There are many people who have not yet learned to listen carefully enough to know that they're playing out of time. They can't hear it. They're not paying attention to it. Okay. Sometimes people hear it, but it doesn't bother them enough. They hear that it's a little off. They hear it's a little string noise. They can kind of hear the vibrato is something is off. It's not quite in tune or it's not in time. They kind of hear it, but it doesn't bother them. So the first step is you want to start listening. That's step one. You want to start listening for those flaws, for the things on this side. Awareness is step one. Step two, you have to let yourself be annoyed and be bothered by them. This stuff should drive you crazy. If it doesn't drive you crazy, you're not going to be very motivated to work on reducing and then eventually eliminating these things. John Petrucci doesn't have this stuff because it drove him absolutely freaking crazy nuts. If it didn't, it would not have been worth all the time and effort for him that he spent eliminating those things. Of course it drove him crazy. That's why he doesn't have it anymore. That's the source of the motivation. He had the awareness, then he was bothered by it, he was annoyed, and he says, this cannot stand. We cannot have this, okay? So that is the second part. And a lot of people just find, as Dr. Zilio said, a lot of people find working on this side to be boring or hard because it doesn't feel like we're getting any better, even though you are, because we're not adding anything over here. We're not learning a new lick. We're not learning a new technique. We're not, learning new chord positions. We're not learning some new phrasing or improvising hack. We're not, nothing is being added. We're just trying to remove problems. And that just is not as motivating for people. It's motivating for me. It's probably motivating for your favorite players, but for a lot of people, it's not very motivating. So I'm going to urge you to get motivated to alleviate these things, because when you do, it's going to make all the difference. Okay. So the doctor asked for some examples. So I'm going to play a little guitar here. I'm just going to improvise here. I'm going to play a few things. And let's say that I'm going to play an E major arpeggio. Now, I just, without even thinking about it, naturally, I added vibrato to the last note. What would happen if I didn't do that? It's okay. It's okay, but it doesn't have as much expression. What did I do there? I played the arpeggio. I did not apply vibrato. I held the note out. Then, after a delay, I added vibrato at the end. So the first time, vibrato. Second time, no vibrato. Third time, delayed vibrato. But when I applied vibrato, the one thing that was definitely there was it was definitely in tune. Okay, it was in tune and it was in time. Okay, the vibrato wasn't I didn't just waver the string randomly. Could have, but I didn't. That's in time with the notes that came before. Okay, and it's in tune. If the vibrato would be out of tune, it would sound like this. So there it was out of tune because as I would bend the string, I didn't come all the way back down. And that's why it sounded bad. Plus I have noise at the end. The noise was a mistake. But the fact that the vibrato didn't come all the way back down, it kind of got higher and higher and higher, that sounds bad. That sounds amateurish because it's out of tune. We have an intonation problem. And now we have something on that side of the equation that is making the note, which otherwise would have sounded good, minus the little noise at the end. But now it doesn't sound good. So the fact that I played the arpeggio doesn't matter. The fact that I held out a nice note doesn't matter. The fact that I'm playing vibrato, using vibrato doesn't matter. It's all garbage. It's all garbage now. Nobody wants to listen to that, right? You don't want to put this on an album. You're not going to let your friends hear that because it sounds bad. It's terrible, right? So the rest of it doesn't matter. And that's what I'm saying. We practice to learn these things, play the notes, understand what we're doing, understand the theory, hear it, get the technique together, synchronize the hands. But because the vibrato sucks, the whole thing is garbage. That's a problem. So If that was how my playing really sounded, I would have to take the time and really make sure that note, that vibrato, each one of those pulses is in tune. That means when I bend the string up and when I release the string down, it's got to come all the way down. Okay. And what a lot of people do when they do vibrato is they don't release the string all the way down. Okay. So I'm going to draw you a line. Okay. Here, this line represents the string when it's not being bent. Okay. When people do vibrato, oftentimes they go like this. The string, this is the string here, the note, doesn't come all the way back down to 0. See the space here? That means this is out of tune. All of this is garbage now. It's no good. No good. Okay. The only way it's going to be good is if that string comes all the way back down to being in tune. Okay. So when we do vibrato this way, there are other ways to do vibrato where it wouldn't come all the way down, and that's something else to show you in a minute. That is a vibrato that is in tune. The valleys come to the same exact place. The bottom of the peaks come to the same place every time. You haven't talked about the peaks yet, if those are at the same place or not, but the valleys are. Okay, that small little thing is going to make everything else. That note, the vibrato, the arpeggio that came before, everything else is going to sound now better. Same thing on that note. That sounds good because I make sure the bottom of those notes come all the way down. Okay. So that's something really to pay attention to, because if it didn't, then we have a problem. We have something creeping up over here and everything else is just no good anymore. Okay. So there's an example. I'll give you another example. Let's say that we were going to play same chord, E major. Got our E major arpeggio here. Now I've gone out of the arpeggio and played the 6th or the 13th. That note is not in the chord, okay? It's in the scale, it's in the key of E major, but it's not in an E major chord. So if I played the arpeggio over the backing track and I landed on this note, if I don't apply vibrato to that note, or I don't bend up to that note, or I don't do something with the phrasing, I take on risk. What does that mean? It means that when I play the pitch, it just sounds like a dissonance, because it is. The dissonance is not being resolved because I'm just leaving it hang there. And it's not convincing to myself or to anyone else if I really intended to play that note, or if it was just a mistake. I kind of just landed on some note that's in the scale, but there's no real musical intention there. It sounds very amateurish. Okay. Now, there's nothing wrong with that note, but because it's not in the E major chord, which I already set up in your ear by playing the arpeggio, we don't have certainty. We don't have certainty that I intended to play that note, that note has any kind of expressive or emotional value. But if I do this, I've just changed everything, because one, we have certainty. You know that I intended to play that note. It sounds that way. The note has been phrased by a bend up, sustaining the dissonance, and then I'm resolving it. That makes the note generally sound better than if I just do that. Okay. And what a lot of times people do is when they try something like this, they're not sure what to do with that note. It just kind of just hangs there. So because it feels a little uncomfortable or slightly awkward, a lot of times amateur players will avoid playing that note over the E chord. Instead, they'll hang on notes that are in the chord. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, except that you're limiting the options that you have to play. I mean, listen, in a triad, in a chord, you only got 3 notes. There's only 3 notes there. We have 7 notes in the scale. We don't want to omit or avoid the other 4 notes just because they feel awkward because we don't know what to do with them or make them, we don't know how to make them sound good. Okay. We do want to make them sound good. That note right there, that's the 9th of an E chord. That's F sharp. That's the 3rd. But when I play that 9th, it sounds good. There it is. It sounds good partially because the 9th does sound cool, but it sounds cool because I'm playing it in a cool way. That's why it sounds good. It sounds good because it sounds intentional. It's set up through the bend, releasing down to the F sharp. Nice vibrato there. Okay. It sounds good because of the phrasing is what makes it sound good. The F sharp note sounds pretty good, but with good phrasing, it sounds a lot better. So there's a couple of examples. See, we have a comment in here. Let's see here. What would be your perspective? AS, I think that is referring to additive and subtractive, to like Honorable Jimi Hendrix, Robert Fripp, King Crimson, Friedman, Steve Hackett, more. They also followed by AS also. I'm not sure I totally understand the question, but I think what's being asked, and Doctor, if you understand the question better than I do, I think what's being asked is, are all of the players being listed thinking about or focusing on these things? And I think the answer to that question is, yeah, they are.
Yeah, most of it, most of them, at least.
I mean, let's say Marty Friedman more than Jimi Hendrix, but yes.
I don't know if they were thinking exactly the same or if they had the 2 categories. Of course, nobody knows how another person thinks, but they definitely took care of that. They wouldn't sound
yes,
take care of that. So I mean,
yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to imply that they're thinking I have a list of additive things and I got a list of subtractive things, and I don't think they're thinking that way. Okay, this is just my way of laying this out. But intuitively, when they touch their guitar and they practice and they learn and they refine their skills, they're definitely doing that. They may not have this list in their mind with these names, but of course they were doing that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's what people do, because otherwise it would not sound good. Now, did all those people actually took care of all the possible A and S, etc., etc.? Well, no. There are things that Jimi Hendrix can do or cannot do, and things that Friedman can and cannot do. And if you go and one thing is that, for instance, about Jimi Hendrix is that what we have left are the recording and the recording of the albums and the lives, and the ones that people listen to most are the good ones. Of course, that happens with everybody. What we don't see, but they exist, and if you search them, like all the bootlegs, are the recording of the bad concert. And Jimi Hendrix had very good highs, but it also has very bad lows. Okay, it was very inconsistent because that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to put himself in a situation and like run down a cliff and see if he could land or get down the whole mountain. And
so he was pushing.
He was pushing beyond his own abilities. And again, respect. I mean, but he could do up to a certain thing. He was breaking new ground. So I mean, nothing to touch there. But he was pushing, and sometimes he found himself in a situation where he couldn't manage it. So there are bootlegs where is completely out of his depth. There is at least a bootleg that I've heard where he actually apologizes to the audience. He realizes that, okay, the night is going on this way. Sorry, guys. Okay, so other people in that list are way more consistent. Robert Fripp is incredibly consistent. Robert Fripp is a guarantee. So there is this thing to consider too. Okay, so how do we judge talent? They say judge talent at its best. Yes, but sometimes you want to be sure that they sound good, for instance. So judge reliability at its average. Okay, so there's that too. So
I have a comment on that.
yeah. I just want to finish, and then, because did Jimi Hendrix took care of all the subtractive things? No, he didn't take care of his consistency. But maybe if he lived longer, he would have, because he was going that direction. So just saying.
Yeah, and actually, that was just the thing I was going to mention. When we're talking about Hendrix, and we're talking about the skill sets and the talent and all of that stuff that Hendrix had. When judging anyone, but Hendrix in particular, you can look at how consistent were they, and you can give a score or a value judgment on the consistency. John Petrucci, Steve Vai, super consistent as examples. But you can also just look at what were they capable of, even if they didn't or couldn't do it that way all the time. What was the capability? Well, Hendrix, particularly for that period of time, was pushing a lot of limits and had a lot of talent and pushed guitar in new directions. The guitar playing would have evolved into those directions eventually anyway, but it happened faster because of Hendrix. But yeah, not a super consistent guy. But he, as we said, he was pushing the limits, going beyond. Plus, he was on drugs. Okay, so there was that too. All right. I'm pretty sure when Steve Vai takes the stage, he's not high. I'm pretty sure. Okay, so there's that.
But the point stands, meaning that they were definitely, one way or another, working on both sides. Because lots of those people have very good timing, and good timing does not happen naturally. I mean, say whatever you want. Okay, good. It's very, very, I mean, we teachers know it's very, 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 very rare to find somebody who has natural good timing. It's one of the rarest thing. Most people have to work at their timing, and even one with natural good timing, that works up to a certain point. When you start playing beyond a certain complexity, you have to sit down and work on it, period. So there's that.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of, some of the things that people can do, what listeners, people watching can do now, okay? I assume that everyone listening to this is already working on this side of the equation. You're learning new skills. You're practicing things on this side already. That probably is, hopefully, that's already happening. If you're practicing guitar, you're probably doing a lot of that. Okay. What I'm going to suggest is to start listening more for things on this side. Listen for the flaws. Be annoyed by them. This is really important. Now, it's not going to feel good. Okay. Here's a great exercise. Record yourself. Grab your phone. Okay. And just play guitar, anything you want, and just listen back to it. And if you listen carefully, you might be mortified by all the flaws that you hear, but that's okay. Every mistake you hear is an opportunity, because if you don't hear those flaws and somebody else does, you don't have the opportunity. You have no chance to fix them. So awareness is first. Second, don't beat yourself up and say, oh man, I suck. My timing, terrible. Phrasing, horrible. Okay. String noise, out of control. I'm a terrible guitar player. Don't beat yourself up. Okay. You are where everybody else was. Okay. Everybody. Your favorite players had all the same problems. They did. Okay. and it bothered them just like it bothers you, or it will bother you. But they didn't give up. They said, well, let's see what we can do about this. Let's make this at least a little bit better for today. We're not going to eliminate all of this right now, but let's make it a little better. Let's reduce some of that stuff so that more of this stuff can shine. This stuff on this side has more value when the stuff on this side decreases and goes down. It's totally worth it. But some people get real frustrated with themselves, and they beat themselves up, and they think, oh, I don't have natural talent. I don't have this. My timing sucks. I just don't have it. I don't have any. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. There's nothing wrong with you. Okay. You just need a little time. Okay. A little time, little attention. If you don't know how to eliminate these things, or you can eliminate them to a certain extent, but you can't get the rest of it eliminated, go find a great guitar teacher, not the jackbag bum down the street who doesn't know what he's doing. A really great teacher. They're out there. Go find one to eliminate the stuff on that side. Okay. So work on your timing. It's not super fun, but as you do it, it makes everything else that you play definitely more fun to play. Phrasing makes all the difference. Start with getting your vibrato to be in tune. That string gets released. Well, I kind of erased it here, but that string comes all the way back down to 0. Okay. The peaks and the valleys are consistent the whole time. If you just did that and you didn't fix your timing, your playing would already sound better. If you just fix your timing and the intonation problem was still there, your playing would still sound better. Okay. Next thing is, learn when to milk notes. Don't always search for the next note or the next lick or the next thing to play. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Let's say, I did a little bit of it earlier. So let's say I play something. I played 2 notes. I played G sharp and I played F sharp. That's all I did. A little out of tune. Let me try that again. So I'm not playing a lot of notes. I'm definitely not playing anything fast. I'm not playing anything complex or hard, but it sounds cool. It sounds cool. It sounds cool because I'm milking the notes. I'm trying to get every drop of expression that I can get from the notes. I'm not sitting there saying, oh, I'll play something else. That's a mistake. Not that there's anything wrong with playing lots of notes. I like lots of notes. Okay. I listen to Yngwie. Okay. I love fast guitar playing. That stuff's awesome. But if you listened, well, I use Yngwie as an example, but you could choose any player, any great player. So a player like Yngwie does play a lot of notes, but when he holds out a note, it's awesome. It is awesome. He's not playing a lot of notes because he doesn't know how to play expressively slow. He does. Just listen to him. Listen to Black Star, first song off the first Yngwie album. It's awesome. Listen to it. Okay. So milk those notes. Don't move off, especially when improvising. Don't play a note and then go on. That's nothing. That's just random noodling. You're not saying anything. You're not expressing anything. It's just noodling around. Have fun with that. Make those notes sing. The more you do that, the more everything that you play, whether you play fast or slow, is going to sound good. It's just going to sound good. But you got to learn to milk the notes. Get everything you can out of them before you go on to the next thing, the next lick, the next technique, or whatever. So that's what I do. If you would sit here and watch me practice, you would see me do a lot of that. Okay. You would not see me running up and down scales and arpeggios. I mean, occasionally, yes, I still have to maintain those skills. Okay. But most of the time, what you would see would probably look very boring to you. You would see me playing a phrase and then playing it again, refining it, trying to squeeze more emotion out of it, more and more and more and more. And you probably would be thinking, will you please play something else? We're sick of listening to that. But that's what real refinement of phrasing and expression is. It's always getting it better, not moving on to the next thing. Another thing you can do when playing over a backing track or chords or whatever is don't always think that you have to, when improvising, you don't always have to play the notes that are in the chord. You can. It can sound good. It does sound good. But if that's all you ever do, you've only got 3 notes that you can play over any given chord. You're going to run out of expressive options real quick. Okay. And we don't really want to do that. All right. So as I was showing before with the over the E chord, so that note that I sustained, that's the F sharp. That's the 9th note. It's not in the chord. Okay, that's C sharp. That's the 6th. So the note I'm sustaining is not in the chord, but it sounds good, right? Whoop. Try that again. That's the 6th. Resolving to the 5th. This note right here is the 11th. Resolve to the 3rd. There's a 9th. 6 or 13. There's 7. There's 7 again. There's 7 again. So all of the notes in the scale are going to sound good, and you can hold them out. You can milk them. You can land on them. Don't think that you've got to stick to the chord tones. It's a good place to start when you're first learning, but you want to go beyond that. Anything you'd like to add to that, Doctor?
Well, what you just did also doubles as ear training. I'm trying to formulate it properly, so just a second. Okay, but you are studying right now the tendency tones. So the 6th resolves down to the 5th, the 4th resolves down to the 3rd, or the 11th, which is the same. So that doubles. It's a non-music theory concept. I know you know. I'm just saying for the audience, but that doubles as studying theory and doubles as ear training. So it's a triple thing there. So your time is 3 times more valuable when you do these kind of things. It's even more valuable if you sing it while you're doing it, just to internalize it better. A lot of people ask this question: how do I play naturally? How do I express exactly what I want? How do I imagine a melody and have the guitar play the melody? And the answer is doing exactly what Tomas was doing a moment ago, and sing it while you're doing it. This is a very hard answer because nobody wants to sing. Because if you wanted to sing, it wouldn't be guitar players, it would be singers, right? Simple as that. But if you guys give it just a moment and you are not that too hard on yourself, and you accept that your voice is not the voice of a singer, so you are not going to sound as good as your singers. Your voice is going to be screechy or tense or all the other thing, fine. But if you just get the pitch and sing those things, you will realize that you can create melodies in real time and improvise them and know how they sound while you play them or even before you play them. Okay, so, and that's another intangible, okay, because that's the other thing. It's those guitar players that you like play great melodies. And you may think that this is natural talent because it doesn't look like something you learn. No, I mean, they think I'm a melody, they play it, or they play great melody. How do they compose great melody? How do they write great melody? How do they improvise great melodies? And what we are telling you right now is that that's not talent, that's learned. I mean, it's so obvious for us because it's just learning how the notes sound in a scale, and then you just know what to do. It's as simple as that. If anything, the problem is that it's not complex enough because people are like, how do I do that? You just do it. You do those exercises that don't even look much related or you don't want to do because they involve singing, and then you just do it. There is no extra step. There is no, this is the beginning and then later by experience you put it together. You do it, you hear it. I mean, you do the exercise, you hear it, you do it. Done. Okay. But it's something you learn. It's not something that you're born with. I don't know if there are people born with it. Never met one. But maybe. On the other hand, you learn it. It's not that hard to learn. You just need to do this kind of exercise. Long speech for that, but I mean, it's important.
Yeah, I agree totally. You can't make your guitar sing if you don't. So, or at least it's really hard. Okay. So when I'm playing, I am singing the entire time. You don't hear it because it's not coming out my voice. But in my mind, I am singing all of those notes. I hear them and I'm singing them. And then I'm going to the guitar and I'm executing what is going on in here. Now, I couldn't always do that. When I started playing guitar, not only could I not do it, I didn't even know that that was a thing. I didn't even know that it existed. It never even occurred to me. But I was living in Hollywood for a short time back in the early 90s. And there was a guitar teacher out there. Was in a class. It was at GIT. I was sitting in a class in GIT. And the first class I ever took there. And the teacher comes out, doesn't say a word, grabs the guitar, plugs it in, and he starts singing while playing every note. And I was completely blown away. I'd never seen that before. I'd never imagined that before. It was unbelievable to me that that this was even possible. Okay. It completely blew my mind. And the point of the class was, if you can't sing it, you can't play it. And the only thing you are playing is just random trial and error. You're just regurgitating licks that you've learned or patterns, or it's just trial and error, noodling around. It's all nothing. It's all pretend, basically. And that really that really changed a lot for me, because I realized, well, something I didn't even know existed. And then I thought, there is so much more to being a guitar player or being a musician than I ever thought. I thought you learn some chords, you put them together, you learn some licks, you put them together, they're in the same key, and that's it. You're done. That's as far as my little brain went at that time. So it opened up a whole lot. And then, in months and years later, I started practicing that. It was not easy in the beginning, but I kept trying it. And sorry if you're hearing my cat in the background. But as I kept trying it, I would slowly get better and better and better. Now, at the beginning, I didn't know how to practice that. I tried. I just was kind of winging it, but I didn't really know, how should I approach this? How should I practice that? I learned that later. But yeah, so I'm singing all those notes. I'm not going to sing it out loud because my voice is pretty terrible, and I'm not going to embarrass myself in front of you all. But I'm telling you, I am singing this. All that stuff I'm singing. And even when I'm playing faster, I'm trying to sing. It's hard for me. It would be hard for my voice to keep. My voice wouldn't be able to keep up. But in my mind, I can hear all those notes, and you'll be able to too. So the more that you do that, the more creative you'll be, the more intentional you'll be. The phrasing will improve a lot, and so will the note choice, because you're not thinking anymore, okay, we got an E chord. Let's see. The notes are E, G sharp, and B. I guess I can play one of those. Now you're using information, which is useful music theory, but you're just choosing 3 of the 7 notes and then randomly playing one. You're not hearing that G sharp. You don't know what it feels like yet. You don't know what it sounds like yet. See, that sounds lyrical because in my mind I'm singing that. Okay, that's a really useful lesson.
Yes, yes. And it makes everything easier too, because a big struggle that people have is like you were saying, they learn licks, they put them one after another. They don't know how it sounds, trial and error. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. For me, it's like you're driving a car and somebody painted the windshield black. And you never seen a car before. First time you enter in a car, the windshield is completely black, and you just learn to do that. People are like, okay, you count to 3, then you turn left, and you count to, and it's incredibly complicated. And occasionally you hit somebody or the curb, etc. Why this happens? And then one day somebody shows you a car with a transparent windshield, like, oh, this is so much easier. That's how it's supposed to be. Yeah. It's supposed to be that. It's supposed to be like that. And again, my voice is horrible, whatever, but it's supposed to be like that. It's not even hard. The problem is that it's not even hard now, but even at the beginning, it wasn't that hard. I was just doing it wrong. Okay, so what? You guys can do this. You guys can try this today. Grab your guitar, play a few notes, sing on it, keep going. Let's see what happens. I mean, what could go wrong? Okay, you're not hurting anybody. So try that. Okay, now, Thomas, you have something for us.
I do.
Let me just fish it out, which should be here.
Yes, this is a free resource for you guys. You guys can download this right now at the link you see, tomhess.net/natural-talent-installed. And this is essentially about taking the mystery out of, when you see, maybe you have a friend and you think, oh, that guy is so naturally talented. Everything comes easy for that person, but it comes hard for me. I have to work really hard to make a little progress, but this person over here, he's making a lot of progress really quickly, and he doesn't even practice as much as I do. I had friends, two friends in particular, who were like that, and it always frustrated me, and I didn't understand what the difference was. What is it that they have that I didn't have? And I just assumed falsely that they were born with some natural ability that I can't ever have or acquire, that I just didn't have it. They have natural talent. Well, all natural talent is the tendency to do the right thing. That's what it means. That's the definition of natural talent. The tendency to do the right things. But anyone can learn what the right things are and then practice a tendency to do them. Okay. It's not that difficult. Okay. So I've got a really cool shortcut in this resource here, that it's a video, okay, for free for you guys, that's going to take you through a series of shortcuts that is going to help you install natural talent into your brain and into your hands. Okay. And it makes a big difference. It is an approach to playing and practicing that for sure is different than what you're doing now. So you can download it for free, no strings attached. You'll be glad that you did.
Very good. And I have something for you too, guys. Let me just click a number of buttons here. But there we go. It wasn't that, of course, it was this. I have a free ebook for you too, guys. That's something that actually connects with the last thing we were doing. Those are 18 tips to make your pentatonic solo sounds professional. Those are not licks. I'm never going to teach you licks. Okay? I don't like teaching licks because the licks are just one thing you can do, and it never fits the music you want to do. And it never really make you a better player. The point of learning music is to make you a better player. The point of music theory is to be internalized. The point of learning stuff is that then it becomes natural for you, just like Thomas was saying, the tendency of doing the right thing, okay? This ebook here contains 18 tips. Those are not licks. Those are the building blocks of the leaks. These are the thing before the leaks, the attitude, if you want, the ideas, the movements that come before the leaks. If you learn 2 or 3 of those, you don't have to learn the whole thing. You can just take this ebook, and it's completely free, and then it's a link below in the description too. You take this ebook, you just rifle through it, pick the first 2 or 3 things that strikes you fancy. Literally, the first 2 or 3 things that you're thinking like this sounds easy and this sounds cool. You do those, it transforms your playing, because now you start thinking of this whole thing in a different way. And now the licks just come out of you. It's strange to say this, it's just a little free ebook can do that, but if you do it, it happens. And it's free. So just go, get it, have fun. Okay, now, let's click a few more buttons. Thank you, Thomas. That was interesting, and I think there's lots of actionable things for our audience to do. People can actually do this stuff today and start sounding better.
Yeah, it's totally doable for anyone.
Yes, and anybody can sound better, at least, and can sound good. To sound great may take some time, but to sound good, and I mean, good enough that people are surprised at how good you sound, that's totally doable by anybody.
Yep.
Okay, guys. Thank you for coming today. And until next time, enjoy.